I'm not expecting her to be too crazy. Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome back to another starting Brandy video. This one has been very requested and you guys have been waiting for this for a long time. I'm actually going to be showing you guys how I rode Brandy for the first time. I'm going to show you guys my process and how I went about everything. So yeah, that's what we're going to do today. And as you guys know, if you've watched all my previous starting Brandy videos, I always like to start with a round pen session. I'm not going to bore you guys with that again. I always show you guys how I round pen. Today we're going to skip that. I already did it. There was no craziness, so that's a good sign since we are getting on her today. And yeah, she's rocking her new halter from Sundance Halters. If you guys haven't seen my last video, I actually revealed a giveaway, so definitely head over to my last video and check it out and enter if you want to. You guys will be getting a halter like this one. Anyway, I've actually documented everything that I've done with her since she was a yearling, so if you guys want to see those videos, I did a whole playlist. It's called Starting Brandy, and there's a bunch of videos on there showing you guys everything that I did step by step up until this point. I'm not expecting her to be too crazy. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay you guys, I actually got on Brandy for the first time bareback. I did saddle her before I ever got on her, but I don't know why I feel like I always like to start off bareback. Even though she's good with the saddle and I could get on with the saddle, I don't know, I just like getting on bareback first, but that's just personal preference. Honestly, you have to read your horse and just do what you personally feel comfortable with. If you don't feel safe getting on your horse bareback, it's fine to start with a saddle. Just because I've started her from the beginning and I've prepared her, I don't feel too scared to get on bareback. Before I actually get on, I like to desensitize her to my body, the normal movements that you would naturally do if you're gonna jump on your horse bareback. So to start off, get her used to my hands, touch her all over, pat her. I'm gonna do some jumps, jumping, 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 some jumping, 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 some jumping, jumping, jumping. Good girl. She's doing exactly what I want, which is basically standing still. If she were to move off, I would just keep jumping, following her until she stood still, and then I would stop. If you guys have watched my whole series, you're probably sick of hearing me say that, but basically that's how I taught her everything, by pressure and release, by contact and release. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm gonna do a little head start by running over here and jumping just to get her used to that. I'm out of shape. You see, I'm already out of breath. If you didn't have anything to step on, then you would naturally run and jump over, right? So that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. Make sure she's comfortable with me running at her. Good girl. Good. So she did great right there. So now that she's comfortable with all of that, I'm gonna go ahead and start applying pressure on her back. So I always start off by laying my arm over her back like this. Good girl, good girl. She's standing still, so I take it off. So that's kind of like the first thing, right? Before I ever lay my body on her, I always lay my arms first, start off slowly. So again, I'm gonna lay my arm on her. She's standing still, and then take it off. So she's fine with that. Next, I'm gonna move on to actually laying my body on her. So I'm gonna kind of lean on her like this, right? Leaning, she's standing still. Good girl, and I get off. She seems okay with all the leaning. Next, I'm gonna actually get on her back. So I actually use a stool for this. As you guys can see, I have a little stepping stool right here. And I'm gonna start off by standing up here. Okay, making sure that she's comfortable with me standing high above her. That's very good. And I'm gonna step down. Again, I'm gonna step up. Good girl. I'm gonna step down. Now I'm gonna move to the higher step because I have two little levels here. Okay, good girl. Now I'm gonna step down. Good. I'm gonna step up. Good girl. Now I'm gonna step down. So as you can tell, she's pretty comfortable with that. I'm gonna move on to actually laying my body on her. And I'm gonna start this off very slow. I'm gonna go ahead and lay just my arms again. But this time, there's a little bit more weight than there would be if I was standing on the floor. So here she's moving off. I'm gonna follow. She started walking off and I just followed until she stood still, and then I got off. I'm gonna do it again. Very good. Since she did walk off the first time, I wanted to get off her back before she had a chance to walk off. Now before I actually lay my body on her back completely, I want to do a little bit of bending and flexing just so I can make sure she's paying attention to the reins. I'm gonna start asking her to bend this way. Good girl. Do the same on the other side. Good girl. And now I'm gonna go ahead and use the reins to back her up. So I always like to do all this stuff before I'm actually on her back, so that when the moment comes for me to actually ride her, she knows what everything means. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick up and ask her to back up. Good. And then I let go. As soon as she takes a step back, I let go of the reins. Again, I'm gonna ask her to back up. Good girl. So now that she's doing all that while I'm standing here next to her, I'm gonna go ahead and get on her back. This way I know that I can back her up or stop her if she does start to walk off. Okay, you guys, so when it finally came down to actually getting on Brandy's back, I used a lot of the Jeffries method. It gets the horse used to the rider's weight without all of the added tack. It also makes it a lot safer to quickly dismount if the horse spooks or takes off. It's important to take this time to really rub and pet your horse all over and really desensitize them to having someone on their back. I also like to use my back legs and rub them all over her hind end. And you guys, I know this looks really weird, but anyway, once I feel like Brandy is completely comfortable with all of that, I slowly start to bring my legs forward, making sure I'm still rubbing her and petting her, and finally I just sit up and ta-da! I'm officially on Brandy. And of course, once I'm sitting upright, I pet her all over and say good girl, and then I get off before she gets a chance to move, to teach her that she doesn't have to freak out or move, that I'm coming off regardless. And if she did walk off before I got a chance to get off, I would gently stop her and get off once she stood still. So once I do it a couple of times and I feel like she's very comfortable with all of that, I start to work on the bending, the flexing, and the backing up, just like I did on the ground, but this time on her back. As you can see here, when I bend to the right, she didn't know what I was asking and she knocks the stepping stool and gets a little bit nervous. So all I do is just pull back, ask her to back up, and as soon as she backs up, I release the reins completely. And then I let her stand there and relax. A lot of times I notice that when the horses freak out, the riders panic a little bit and pull back on the reins and hold on, which makes everything worse and makes the horse freak out. So I really wanted to make sure I was aware of my reins and make sure that I was giving her the release so that she understood what I was asking. So as you guys saw, I asked her to bend to the right again, and she did it perfectly fine. So now I'm going to work on backing her up. As you can see, I just sit deep in my seat, pull the reins back, and as soon as she takes a step back, I release. So I'm going to do that a couple of times just to make sure she understands. I'm going to stop, sit, back up, perfect, and I release the reins. Alright you guys, so that was my little bareback ride. I have gotten on her bareback a couple of times in the past. It's not like we can go ahead and bareback ride anywhere. I mean, I guess we can, but it's not something that we've practiced and we haven't done it in a long time. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I actually do have a video on my IGTV of me riding her bareback. But yeah, it's not something that we do all the time. We do need a little bit more practice. But that's how I started off. I honestly started off bareback before I ever got on with the saddle on. Just as like a personal thing, I just feel a lot better starting off bareback because I don't want to initially depend on the saddle. So basically that's what I did. Right now that was very, very sloppy and rough. Normally I would try and be more gentle getting on, but because of my wrist, I literally can't hold myself up like I used to. So this time it was a little bit sloppy and I was a little bit rough, but she did okay. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to putting the saddle on. Okay, so once the saddle is on, I like to usually round pen her before I even get on, just so that she can get used to the saddle again and get used to the cinch and everything before I actually ride her, so that if she does freak out, I can kind of work her through that. So it's not like her freaking out at the saddle and at me being on her. So yeah, let's go ahead and round pen her. Easy. Cool. Okay, As you guys saw, she was a little bit crazy during that round pen session. That's exactly why I like to round pen before I ever get on, just so that I can get all of that out before I'm on her back, you know, for safety reasons. So usually if she's acting like that, I just continue to round pen her until I get her nice and calm and collected, and until I get her attention on me and I see that she's a lot calmer. So that's what I did. She's definitely a lot calmer, and now I'm gonna go ahead and get on. Okay, so the first thing I do before I actually get on is play with the stirrups just to make sure she's comfortable with that. I'm gonna go ahead and lean on the stirrup. Do the same thing on the other side. Very good. I like to attach my lead rope to the other side to create some reins. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get on, but not actually swing my leg over, just to get her used to that first. So everything I do it step by step. Instead of getting all the way on, I'm gonna go ahead and start with putting my leg in. Okay, she's good with my leg. I get off. Good girl. Okay, now I'm actually gonna get on. I'm gonna stay here. Good girl. And get right back off. Again, I'm gonna get on and then get right back off. Good girl, very good. And when I do that, I make sure to lean a little bit that way so that I'm not pulling the saddle and hurting her withers. I just make sure that I'm not putting too much pressure on one side so that I don't hurt her back. Okay, now that I see that she's doing pretty good like this, I'm gonna go ahead and swing my leg over. Very good. Now I'm gonna get back off. That was really good. Good job. Again. Good girl. And now I'm gonna go ahead and move around in the saddle. Touch her all over. Good girl. Get off. Very good. A little disclaimer that I do want to make. I don't know how it's going to look once I'm editing, but I definitely feel like we're moving very fast. So I want to make it clear that we have done this before, and you shouldn't get discouraged if it's not looking like this when you're actually working with your own horse. So I am definitely moving a lot faster than I did when I first got on her, but it was very similar to this. Again, because I did so much preparation and so much groundwork, she was very calm when it came down to actually riding and getting on. Now I'm going to go ahead and put on her bitless bridle thing that I normally ride her in, just because I feel like I have a little bit more control with that. When I try and ride in a halter, sometimes it rides up and it applies pressure in areas that I'm not really planning to apply pressure. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch her to her bitless bridle, and I'll show you guys what I worked on once I actually got on. Okay, so this is actually the bitless bridle that I've been using on Brandy. I just got this from Tough One, and it has a bunch of different rings on here, so you can kind of clip your reins to whichever ring you prefer to create more leverage. But I just have it on the lightest one, and I like it because I can adjust it to fit her mouth and it won't like ride up into her eyes. And this headstall is just a black biothane headstall from Weaver, and then my barrel reins that I just clipped on. So this is actually what I've been working her in. I still put the bit on sometimes. I haven't actually ridden her in a bit yet, but as you guys saw in my previous videos, I do put it on sometimes just to round pen her in it so she's used to it. But most of the time, since she does so well in this, I don't really feel the need to put a bit in her mouth. Maybe in the future if I do want to get more technical and maybe do shows. For now, this is working pretty well. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on and show you guys what I work on once I'm actually sitting in the saddle. Once I get on, I like to do the bending and flexing while I'm on her back. So I go ahead and use my left rein, bring her head around. Good girl. Again, I do it on the other side. So once I get on, that's something I always do with all the horses, not just Brandy. I like to get them bending and flexing before I actually walk off and ride. And you guys have probably seen me do this in my previous starting Brandy videos on the ground. It transfers over so well when I'm in the saddle because I did it on the ground. Now I'm gonna go ahead and back her up. I actually like to start doing everything the way I would like to have it done in the future. So for example, right here, I'm gonna sit deep in my seat first, right? And then I'm gonna pull the reins back, say, whoa. Good girl, and I'm gonna let it go. I like to do it in steps because in the future, I just wanna be able to sit my butt and have her stop and back up. But obviously she doesn't know that yet, so I have to teach it to her. Sit, good. Right there, I didn't even pull. I just sat deep and she stopped. So those are the little tiny little exercises I've been working on once I actually get in the saddle. That was the main thing, was the stop. I didn't really care about directions or taking her somewhere or turning her. I like to think about that in the future. The first thing I want to get down is the stop because I feel like that's the most important thing. You know, if something happens, you want your horse to stop. So that was the first thing I actually taught her. And again, I sit deep in my seat first. and then pull, whoa, and then let it go. So the moment she steps back, I release the reins and everything to show her that she's doing exactly what I need her to do. So again, I'm gonna try to sit deep, say whoa. Very good. I barely touched the reins there. Again, whoa. Good girl. So every time I stop her, I actually back her up just so that they start to learn, oh, every time I stop, I have to back up, which creates a better stop. And yeah, you guys, that's it. I'm finally on Brandy, the long-awaited video. Everything I've done since she was a yearling has prepared her for this moment and has created the safety to do this, you know? But yeah. That is it. That is everything that I did in order to get on Brandy safely. It's so cool that I've been able to document each part and bring you guys along with me. In the future, when Crystal's baby is born, I can look back on these videos and refresh my memory on how to train a horse and do all the same things with the baby. But I'm so incredibly proud that we've been able to get this far. I know. She's been like amazing to work with, you guys. Like, I honestly got so lucky. She learns super fast. She's very willing and very smart. It's so cool to say that I trained her from scratch. She's the first horse I've ever started, so it is definitely very rewarding and it feels a lot different. A lot of you guys have been wondering what I plan to do with Brandy, and I've honestly decided to go into dun dun dun. You guys should pause the video and guess down below. Let them guess, right? We should give them a little chance to guess. You guys have asked me before, what do I plan to do with Brandy? I've officially decided to get into reining with Brandy. I love the way reiners have so much control in their seat. I want to be able to teach her how to do the flying lead changes and the rollbacks and all that stuff. Honestly, I don't really care too much about the slide stops. I don't know if she'd be able to get a slide stop down, but I love how much handle reining horses have. So I would love to put that kind of foundation on her. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, but we're obviously gonna start very slow. I don't plan on being a professional reiner, and honestly, I like you guys know, I do everything with my horses, so maybe in the future some barrel racing too. Thank you guys so much for watching. I cannot believe we've finally reached the riding part of my Starting Brandy series. This is not really me telling you guys how to do things. I'm just bringing you guys along and showing you guys what I did with Brandy. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope these videos helped you out. Please let me know if you guys would like me to continue the Starting Brandy series. Thank you so much for watching and for following along on our little training journey. I'm very grateful at how far we've come. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Please, 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 please. I would really appreciate it. And if you're new to my channel, what's up? My name is Cindy Valentina. Please don't forget to subscribe. All you gotta do is just click that red subscribe button down below. Here's my notification shout out. Thank you guys so much for commenting. If you want to be shouted out in my next video, all you gotta do is just click that notification bell and then leave me a comment down below letting me know that you've done it, and that's it. You might be shouted out in my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.